surrendering to the raging river that is life.
Surrendering to the raging river of life.
Yes. You know, you can try and swim against it.
Right.
You know, you can try and fight again. It takes a lot of effort, doesn't it? It takes a lot of energy. But the option is to just let go and just to navigate it and to trust in that. And I know for most people that's not easy. But actually it's a lot easier than the alternative that right now you're currently engaged in. You know, wanting people to shift and change around you, wanting global situations to be different is robbing you of the peace and serenity that is available to you right now. And it's that peace and serenity that makes the difference. Surrendering to the raging river, the wild rapids of life.
I've been on rapid trips. I used to do whitewater kayaking, and one of the things they always said is that if you got kicked out, put your feet up and float down the river.
Yeah. Yeah.
Just put your feet up and float down. And so that's basically what you're telling us to do, that we're not supposed to be fighting against our life and changing the outward circumstances.
Right. You know, the funny thing is that people have this belief system that their reality is almost adversarial. Right? It's like everyone is working against them or working to sabotage them.
Something to overcome.
Right, and it's like everything out there is the enemy. Well, it isn't. Everything out there is actually in your favor. Even the most annoying person in your life is propelling you into the fullness of who you are. And there comes a point when you stop trying to fight against it, you stop trying to change it, and you start embracing it, and you start recognizing it, and you start breathing into it. And in that moment, something shifts. Something shifts. You recognize that all of it, every single facet of your experience is actually leading you into more. All of it. No matter what it looks like. The funny thing is that most of the precursors and most of the wake-up calls are actually catastrophic. What people would deem to be catastrophic, right? It's always a divorce. It's always something that rocks your reality, that rocks the foundations of what you've labeled as life and certain. You know, it comes in, it just shakes it, and it says, no, wait a minute, you're not this. There's something more. There's something greater, and that something greater is within you.
So what about all those folks who are just claiming and fighting for their limitations?
Fight on. Fight with every fiber of your being until you're absolutely exhausted. Because then you'll realize the future, because you and I fought against, you know, we were like, how dare you take my limitations away? Hello? No, you're not going to do that. Hell no. I like being limited, you know.
I'm a victim, damn
Exactly.
it.
I want to be a victim. You're not going to, don't take my victimhood away, right? Well, so be it all. If you're currently in abject resistance, and you're currently fighting for limitations, then fight for every fight. Go on, do it. Do it until the point of exhaustion, because there's going to come a point where you yourself are going to realize the absolute unworkability in that line of being, right? You know, and sometimes it's that whisper, right? It's the whisper. And then it's someone saying, you know, guess what, you're more. And then it's someone screaming at you, you're more. And then it's the 2x4, right? So the fighting and the resistance is a beautiful part of the greater unfolding, you know. It's like the contractions, you know, that you have to go through during the birthing process. You know, being a goddess in disguise, I know what that feels like, right? So, you know, or it's like that caterpillar breaking free of the cocoon, right? There's a certain level of resistance involved, and there's a certain level of stress involved in growing into more. So then the key is to feel it, right? To fully own it, to fully be in it. Then you'll get to a point where you're like, wow, you know what, wow, that wasn't me. That was a part of me. It's a part of who I am. And none of that needs to change. Eventually you'll get to a point where none of that needs to change. You know, you'll get to a point where you can still be a victim and be infinite all at the same time. Because being infinite is being inclusive of the part of you that believes it's a victim. You know, right?
Right.
Yeah. And that part of you that bought into limitation is still a part of infinity. So you start having a more inclusive relationship with yourself, right? The rage, the anger, the fear, the sadness, all of it. I promise you, none of it needs to change. And if we were to shift any of it, you wouldn't be you. You wouldn't be you. It's like when you bake a cake, you need all the right ingredients, right? You need chocolate sprinkles, you know, you need the flour, you need all of that, right? So everything in life, every single thing that you're experiencing, even if right now you're just abjectly resisting everything that's being shared right now, resist it with all your might, please. Right? Don't change that. Be in the resistance of it. Because in the fully allowing for that and the fully experiencing of it, something will shift.
So I just felt an energetic shift when you said that.
Yeah.
And we've kind of covered the ground a couple of times, a couple of swings around that
Yeah.
fence. And what happened there when I just felt the vibration just kind of go?
It's just a relaxing into what is. It's just a letting go into the here and now. It's just a, like your central nervous system says, right? And your whole body just breathes a sigh of relief.
Yeah.
And it's like all of that pent up energy and all of that resistance just falls away. It's like, wow, really? Life is on my side and everyone is leading me into more? Like everyone in my life is a messenger and an undercover angel in disguise that's pointing me back to my infinite beingness? Really? Cool. Excellent. Right? And everything that's happening in my life, no matter what it looks like, is a blessing? Really? There's a soul level recognition that occurs. Because your soul recognizes that as the truth of your experience. And then every single facet of you just melts. You just melted, And it happens every single time. Because in the presence of the truth, we vibrationally align with that and attune with that. Because it's more powerful than everything else.
Mm-hmm. In the presence of the truth, we vibrationally open up.
Yes, we do.
So it's interesting, and I'm catching a nuance here that I think the audience is starting to catch on to as well, which is, okay, wait a minute. You said if I hear the whisper, I don't get the 2x4?
Yeah, that's right.
Okay, how do I hear the whisper?
Well, it takes a certain level of being aware and present for your experience. You see, so often in life we get messages all day long, right? But we don't listen, do we? We get silent pointers, like take care of your health. Someone will say something, like some random stranger will come up to you and say, you know what, you got to take care of your health. You got to do something in your diet, right? Or here's something that you need to do about your finances. So it's like so for me, I realized that I was only ever interacting with the divine. And that this infinite being, the divine of your heart, is talking to you through people, places, situations, and circumstances. It's just we're not available for that. We're so wrapped up in what happened yesterday, or we're so afraid of what's going to happen, 3 days from now, that we're not available for the blessings that are unfolding in each moment. And so it just requires being available. It requires being present. It requires saying, you know what? Wow, everything, how lucky am I? Here I am on this stage called Planet Earth, and there are 7.2 billion people that are playing their part just for me. So I can fully realize myself, That's the shift, that's the whisper, And what I'll say to you also too is that when somebody says something that's the truth, it really resonates with you. You know it when someone says it to you. You feel it. It's physiological, right? You know that. So when you get a communication like that, pay attention. Listen to that. That's the whisper. That's the pointer. That's the gentle nudge, into infinity.
I had the most interesting experience just this weekend about apologizing to some of the people in my life who have been there for a really long time.
Yeah.
And it was kind of like, thank you, because I know that you've been a huge catalyst for me on a number of fronts. And there's a part of me that realized in that moment that I'm sorry. I'm sorry that you had the life you had in part so that I could have the life I had with you. And it gave me, I'm going to tear
Just
up
breathe.
a little bit.
That's beautiful.
Yeah.
Just breathe.
Yeah. So realizing that I really got how deeply they were there for me, even though they're incredibly dysfunctional to this moment. And I got to say thank you.
I had a real interesting moment with my dad. In my teens, I was rebelling and doing my rock star routine for 3 years. And during that time, I was kind of short and not very loving and respectful of my father. And I called him and I said, Dad, I'm really sorry. And my father, without missing a beat, said, Panache, I was only ever playing the role that you needed me to play for you. Wow. Right? And I'm going to start now. Right? Not blame, not, yeah, you were a jerk. None of that, right? Just, I was only ever playing the role that you'd asked me to play for you. And I am so grateful for all of those people that are playing those roles for me. Right? And in that reality, there's no blame, there's no there's no sorry that's even required, really, because everyone is showing up exactly the way that you need them to.
Yeah.
Everybody. Yeah.